What is going on, everyone? Happy Monday, and we're back. We're live in studio again. We appreciate your patience. The NFL season has finally come to an end.
No.
Crazy. Also, the Super Bowl week has come to an end, and it was a great week, but I'll be honest right now, if you could see me watching this, it looks like it kicked my ass a little bit because it kind of did. I came back. I got a little bit of the sniffles, but you know what? We don't skip a show here on this, so here we are. We're rocking it. Ryan Ripken show. We got a lot to digest here. The Super Bowl's over, so yes, we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about the game, Mike Mack, the halftime show, Sam Darnold, and then
Commercials.
Yeah, you know what? I got some thoughts. We'll hold on that one. We got some
thoughts. I have a badass thought on commercial.
Okay, well, this is kind of like the Overreaction Monday, too.
Hell yeah.
Here we go. The other part is we want to continue this conversation about the Hall of Fame voting. So at 4 p.m. today, Scott Garceau, which people might not recognize, but Scott actually has the vote here in Baltimore. So we had Brian Billick on during the week, and that interview's out on YouTube. So Brian gave his opinion on the Hall of Fame voting. So we're going to talk to Scott about the process, because then even former players, Randy Moss, who's a part of the Hall of Fame, he had a very, didn't hold anything back on his thoughts about how the voting should be.
Oh, yeah. Go Herd.
So what?
I just said go Herd.
No, naturally. And then at the end, we'll flip over to baseball, because I guess technically now it's official. It's baseball season. Spring training is here. But there's still a lot of free agents that aren't in new places. But that doesn't mean that moves aren't happening. The Red Sox got a new player from the Brewers. We'll explain that trade and a whole lot more. So if you're new to the channel, hit that like and subscribe button. Ryan Ripken Show. We do this live Monday through Friday right here on YouTube, X, and Facebook. Now to the left behind the sticks, Brad. Afternoon.
What's up? What's going on, fellas? Just an absolutely incredible week last week. I can't, when we were in New Orleans, I definitely felt like fish out of water. Like, do we even belong here? This year felt like a little bit more like we belonged, but still very overwhelmed with the amount of just stars that are feet away from you at all times. It's just crazy. Just crazy to me. I mean, we got invited to Cam Scadaboo's birthday.
Yeah, that was a cake. That was an interesting cake that happened there. But overall, there's a lot of networking, relationships. You run into people you don't expect.
Yeah.
That'll be the next interview that comes out tonight on YouTube, which we'll tease at the end of the show. But Bali, how we doing? Happy Monday. Happy belated birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Thank you. Yeah, is the Monday after Super Bowl Sunday, like, where does that rank on worst Mondays? Because it's got to be up there, because like it's nice. Like, you celebrate the Super Bowl. It's like, here's the mecca of what we've been waiting for.
Then it's over.
Yeah. And then like, it's very quickly, like you have like it ends, you get to see the Super Bowl MVP. Like, there's all the excitement. And then it's like a very quick reality of like, that's it for football for 9 months.
It's the exact same feeling I get whenever I get sucked into a really good Netflix series, and then it's over, and then I have like, you just have this feeling of like, well, what do I do with my life now? And that's kind of what it feels like.
You know what is crazy is the moments we're watching it on the TV, they do the presentation, and then I see Mike Tirico pop up up there, and he goes, and now we're going to go to coverage of the Olympics. And then it's done.
And then he's doing voiceovers for the Olympics.
Yes.
Yeah. Can we can't just like gloss over that. That was the worst like ending to a Super Bowl we've had. Like,
I didn't think the coverage was over.
That's the thing. Like, there was I feel like usually there's like the dramatic like exit, and it was like another season in the books, as we head on to, the off season, all this, and like there's a buildup. And this year just kind of felt like you said, I almost was expecting them to be like, and now back to the studio for post game, or to so and so for post game. They're like, okay, to the Olympics, and then it was like boom, and you're like, football season's over.
Well, then they're like, and to see how the women's downhill skiing, which I heard about Lindsey Vonn, and then I heard about the crash, and they're like, oh my God, we're going to see the crash.
And we did.
And we saw the crash, which was horrific. by the way.
Very.
Which was just sad for so many levels, but from a physical standpoint, her being helicoptered out and she's in stable condition.
Irresponsible.
Fractured her leg.
Just plainly irresponsible on all levels, in my opinion. Like,
on which, like, of saying that she should or shouldn't have raced, or just
no
that she got
chance
air
she should have raced.
Well, and I think the one thing is, it's like, I think if it would have been, I would have agreed if her leg would have been the one that gave out, but it was on the jump. She got too close to the flag, and that's what, like, spun her.
She hit the flag in the air.
If it wasn't like a barrier that she kind of hit.
But you can make the argument that if her knee was how healthy, that probably wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, I mean,
overcompensating for an injury like that, in my opinion, is just not responsible.
And the announcer, I forget his name, but he said, could Lindsay pull off the improbable, which it would have been, but from a competitor standpoint, if I was in her shoes and this was it.
Yeah.
And I had a choice. I'm going to get out there and I'm going to do it. But damn, did that suck to watch. But also just, it went through all of that. I was like, oh, the Super Bowl's over. Football's over. Oh my God. Is she okay? Yeah. That was my reaction with this. Yeah. And then, was it Breezy? Was it?
Yeah. Breezy. Yeah.
I'm blanking on the last one. Was it Breezy Johnson?
Yeah, I know Johnson.
Well, and it was that amazing moment. She won the gold. Awesome. And also, by the way, they are humming down that hill.
Oh yeah,
70-something miles an hour. Like, I actually enjoyed watching that, like the actual racing. It's cool. Yeah. But how it all abruptly ended, I was like, oh, so football. We are literally turned
flipping the switch. Yeah,
as soon as possible. And so it was over. It moved on. But there was a lot of great moments. So maybe let's recap our initial thoughts. If you're new to the channel, hit that like and subscribe button, Ron Ripken Show.
Hit it. And real fast, thank you. Just shout out to everyone in the chat. Thank you for all the birthday wishes. And shout out to my girlfriend for throwing me a little surprise party. It was fun. It was good time. Good time. I got told a lot of no's when asked if people wanted to hang out, and then I understood why. Really didn't think I was that popular for a second. I was like, damn. But shout out her. It was a fun week, and to cap off a fun Super Bowl weekend. So, hell yeah.
And now it's all downhill from
there. Literally, that's why I think like Super Bowl Sunday or Monday is just like depressing, because you realize how far away game one is.
Yeah, for football.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. Like
for baseball,
baseball, NBA, NHL, I feel like their seasons are like 6. I mean, for baseball, it's like pretty much close to 9 when you talk about, showing up to spring training to finishing off in early November. It's like 8 months.
No, okay, that's Loyola Don math right there.
That's a lot to finish in November. If you're getting there in February and you're finishing off in November.
Mm-hmm.
That would be 8 or 9 months.
Okay, let's run you through this here. Okay, end of October here, season ends.
November.
Okay? So November, December, January.
February.
3 months.
February, March, you're back playing. 5 months. Final games at the end of March. So if you want to take 6, I'll give you 6. Or this 8 comes in, I don't know. Do you carry the 2? Do you carry the 1?
If there's 3 months of the off season, that would be 8 or 9 months that you're playing. Like, that was my point.
I thought you were saying it was 8 months until the next game.
No, I was saying the full.
My bad.
I was very confused by when you started.
You know what?
Going the
okay, hand up. I fucked up. Okay, so like it's on me. I get it.
I was definitely confused as to where Rip was going.
When he was like, "No, that's wrong."
So, in other words, it's actually the Gilman math.
Yeah. Go Hounds, baby. Hey, so let's talk about the Super Bowl for a second. From a game standpoint. If you love defense, which I actually really appreciate defense, I do. I love the fact that the Seahawks were swarming. But from a standpoint of excitement, wasn't the most exciting Super Bowl.
Boring.
But the Seahawks were humming defensively.
Oh, yeah.
That was fun to see.
They were fun to watch.
I thought for a moment we were going to have a kicker win the Super Bowl MVP for the first time. It felt like it was going to happen.
Either him or
Myers
the punter.
or Dixon.
I was going to say the special teams last night was, if you're a fan of special teams, the best performance you've ever seen in your life.
Yeah,
1/3 of the game.
It was great. Drake May had like 7 completions or something going into the 4th or whatever it was. It was ugly on the Pats side. Like through and through, it was ugly. And then one of the at least funnier moments, it's like the announcer jinx. So it's a long touchdown that gets them back in it. And then the Seahawks get or they get the ball, or sorry, see the Pats score, they get the ball back. And then Collinsworth's on the call going, well, now Drake made the game's coming to him. He's just reacting. He's making all the right reads. And then the next play was the pick to absolutely nobody except the other team. And then Chris Collinsworth says, I got nothing for you there. I got nothing there.
I will say, like, I'll give Drake May credit. That was an incredible heat check. And that was just kind of a crazy time to do it. Like, he had gotten like 2-3 completions underneath him. And then suddenly he was like, we always say like Bo Nix is like, it's Bo Nix time.
Yeah.
Drake May was like, I'm about to take over the Super Bowl. And then he very clearly just before the play was like, yeah, we're taking the deep shot. And Seattle also thought they were taking the deep shot.
And when they showed
the throws were just so high in the air for Drake. I just felt like there was just arm punt after arm punt.
Yeah, the
trying to put
rhythm,
way too much touch.
Too much touch. The rhythm was off. You could just tell that he wasn't playing as freely as he had, but also, he had his struggles in the postseason. Like, this wasn't just a one situation, but the Seahawks, they kept getting after him and made the mistakes. And on that one interception that really sealed the game, it was the crossers that happened, and it was a pick right in between the crossers, right to Julian Love. Like, it wasn't even close. But congrats to the Seahawks. Congrats to Mike McDonald.
Sam Darnold getting the first ring out of the
2018 class
over Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, and
Josh Rosen.
Yeah, did you see that graphic?
Yeah, you know what? Shout out them for including Josh Rosen in that.
Yeah,
everyone looking. Glad they kept him. I guess the Cardinals jersey is really the only one. He was the Bucks backup,
Miami for
like a hot second. Yeah. So overall, we'll get into the Mike McDonald and the Sam Darnold part because that to me was really cool. And shout out Mike Mack, obviously the Baltimore connection.
Yeah, congrats, Mike.
Awesome for him, right? And I know Ravens fans, it should have been the guy. Well, he wasn't, and he went to Seattle and they won a Super Bowl, and their GM John Schneider,
Hall of Famer,
was. Yeah. I remember there's a story. One of my buddies watched it happen. Said they saw in that Starbucks down in Harbor East. He goes, I saw John meeting with Mike McDonald.
No way.
In that Starbucks right there. And he told me, he goes, I don't think Mike's going to stay. And I go, if John's flying here to Baltimore to have that meeting in his home turf at a Starbucks,
yeah,
I feel very good that he's not going to come back either. And I know it might not seem like a lot, but the GM flying to the place across the country to kind of make the pitch, because I saw some reports out there, Adam Schefter was on today saying, the Commanders interviewed with him, and the Seahawks were the last team. John Schneider, it made it a priority. You are my guy.
Yeah.
And Mike waited and was patient, and then the rest is history there, which is incredible. So we'll get into the Mike thing in a second and Sam Darnold. But I want to close out the game portion here for a second, or I should say during the activity process of the Super Bowl. Halftime show. Okay.
Yeah.
And this isn't, if you guys know here, this isn't a political thing. It's just, what did you think of the actual halftime show? Because every year someone has to complain about something, or you might like it.
Yeah.
And personally, this was my take. And Brad, I know we talked about this right before. I personally loved the energy, the vibes.
Yeah.
I could follow the story. I love feeling that type of energy. Now, did I understand a lot of it? No, because I lost my Spanish skill set when I stopped practicing it in high school and with my teammates when I played pro ball.
Yeah.
So there's a couple things I could pick out. So I would have loved a little, translating if I could.
Yeah, if I could get some subtitles on that would be great.
Yeah, that would have been great. But as far as the experience, I thought it was good energy.
100%.
I did.
I was really worried, obviously with the political landscape, and we kind of know what Bad Bunny's done in the past about where the agenda was going to lie on this. And to be quite honest with you, there was a little bit of it, but it wasn't so much so that it was just destroying the whole show, like we've seen in some certain shows in the past. I also thought the vibes are high on that. I love the way that it was all kind of played out. Somebody got married for real life on the halftime show. Like,
that was amazing.
That was incredible. My only complaint, okay, was that Livin' La Vida Loca was not
by Ricky Martin.
Ricky Martin
missed a huge opportunity.
100%, bro. 100%.
Couldn't agree more on that one. I also, when I'm like, oh my God, I actually didn't believe it was Ricky Martin. and Jamie's like, that's Ricky Martin. I'm like, that can't be. If I'm not hearing Livin' La Vida Loca or She Bangs, I don't know if I'm with you.
Missed opportunity. Missed opportunity.
Yeah. Zach, thoughts?
I'm like you guys. I did not understand a single word. And then and it sucks because the most, I'm not going to say his most famous song, but the one that I know the most is the one at the end that he walked out with. So I was waiting for that song. So if we're going off of did I understand? And there were definitely times when he was talking and I was like, oh, he's spitting something right now. I don't know what he's spitting, but I know he's spitting. You can tell when a man is looking at a camera spitting. I was like, okay, something's going on here. I didn't understand it, but pure vibes, that was one of the most it made me wish I understood what was being said because everyone there looked like they were having the most fun possible.
Oh yeah.
You could tell, even though I couldn't understand it, you could semi-follow the story still. And you understood what was being said. And I just thought it was just a pure energy standpoint, fantastic.
Oh yeah.
And I'm sure the ratings, because of how big of a star he is internationally, I'm sure when we get the ratings, it's going to be up there for one of the most all time. But that was just the only thing, you guys said, is wish when I could see him sitting there and he was saying something, looking the camera dead in the eyes, I was like, damn, I wish I knew what he was saying right now. If, like you said, if we could get a little under subtitles, that would have been sick. But pure vibes, incredible. Loved it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good way to describe. Well, one, you're right. When you say he's an international star, he's the most streamed on Spotify in the world.
Yeah.
So that's one. Two, in general, for me, when you watch a show, you want to be entertained.
Yeah.
And I think not understanding it, if you didn't speak Spanish, could you still be entertained? And the answer was yes. You could watch it. I think so much with performers. And when we go back, when you put out the poll, Brad, in the past, what was the best Super Bowl halftime shows?
Yeah.
Where people look back to, it's not a lot of the recent ones. It goes back to ones where they felt entertained and the entertainer did a great job of bringing that show concept. So when you brought up Michael Jackson and you brought up Prince, or even in LA when they brought Dr. Dre and Eminem and 50 and all that together, that group, it was entertaining. And that's the key here. Can you entertain your audience? In some cases, when it goes too much, is okay, the spectacle's all over the place. And you're like, okay, I don't fully understand it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I like it or not. In this case, the energy, it was infectious. I enjoyed that part. And I thought it was cool,
I will say they're literally kind of what you were talking about, where sometimes it feels like they're doing too much. This wasn't even in English, and I followed what was going on better than some of the remember when The Weeknd was just in a glass, and he was even confused of where you're going, and everyone's like, what's going on? What are we doing right now? What's the point of this? There have been some things where I'm I don't get what we're hitting here. You understood, even though it wasn't in English. So I liked it. Loved the energy.
Yeah. And the other part I'll say to close it out with the people that were saying of going so off the map of the reservation of, why not an English speaker?
Yeah.
Why doesn't he perform in English? Whatever the reasons may be, the NFL did this, intentionally for a reason. And not just for the sense of a halftime show, because you know what they're thinking for as a business? We're going more international.
100%.
And that's exactly why they did this.
Whether you like it or not.
So, there was a motive behind all of this, besides the fact that, yes, Bad Bunny, most streamed singer, rapper in the entire world. the NFL has an agenda, and the agenda is to grow the game more international. How do you grow international? Well, why don't you take the most international star in the music space and bring him to the biggest stage in the sporting world, specifically the U.S., but one of the biggest sporting events in the entire world. Yeah. So, hey,
to me, I think the NFL is going to be up there with the likes of soccer and Formula One as far as popularity, the way that the NFL keeps doing this. Now, how they're going to make that happen is a bigger discussion, because making players go all the way to Australia and expecting a good game, probably not something you should do. So, like, my thoughts about like going international and everything else, I think it's great for the game. It's good for the NFL, of course, from a business standpoint. But stretching this out to 18 games potentially, and then doing these international games, they got to figure something out with that, because logistically, it's starting to weaken the quality of the games the further out you go.
Yeah, I mean, the hard thing as a player, no matter what they say or how they view it, when you travel and you have to go and play a game in a place where you're not, used to playing.
Yeah.
It changes up your routines, and then you're also trying to get comfortable, but you're also trying to expand. So you need them to be ambassadors for the sport, but they got to go out there and perform. And you need the quality of the game to be good, because if the quality's good, that attracts more fans. And you're right. Like some of those games when the Jags went over there every single year, or they still do, some of those Jags games were rough.
They still are.
But that's just the reality. And if you try to expand further, how do you make it work?
You're going all the way on the other side of the world.
Yeah.
And like that, I mean, the time change is what, 12, 13 hours. It's a lot.
It's I think it's even to Australia.
Australia is 12 or 13.
I think. Yeah.
And look, I love the concept, but logistically, there's a lot of things that are factoring in. But if that's your aspirations as the NFL, which it is, then you have someone like Bad Bunny perform, which he did.
Yep. And
to your point, and again, not even to a political
16 hours ahead.
16 hours ahead. My mistake.
Makes it even worse.
More.
Yeah, well, exactly.
But again, I don't want to get into all the politics of it, but I thought even overall, you're right. It could have gone a lot of different ways, and I thought it actually went way different than people had anticipated.
Much better than I expected.
In a positive way.
Yeah.
In a positive way. So, and now that one's done. We'll be curious what the next one will be in LA, which logistically for us, we hope that's will be better for Radio Row week. That was maybe the one thing from the Super Bowl week, is that so many events were spread out because the game was in Santa Clara, but Radio Row is in downtown San Francisco. There's an event,
the media
event at EA was 45 minutes away.
Yeah.
No traffic one way.
Yeah.
And then an hour and a half for us to get back.
Yeah.
So there just was a lot of different circumstances there.
But hey, listen, the year after is Atlanta, and the year after that is Vegas. Okay. So I feel like both of those would be better logistically. We just got to get through LA and we'll be fine.
We just got to keep moving.
Yep.
Keep scaling, and it will be great. But before we get back to the rest of the game for the Super Bowl, from this stream to the other stream.
You got to give me more of a heads up. That's all I mean. Hold up and boom.
This stream to the other stream. Fine. Boom. Appreciate our friends over at AutoStream Car Care Center. You want to talk about commercials? Do you guys see that little commercial I had rocking on Instagram the other day?
It was so good.
So if you guys want to see another Ryan Ripken Super Bowl commercial with AutoStream, that will be on Friday. We'll release another
one on
Friday.
Okay.
New release on Friday.
Ooh.
And if you like the other one, you might like this one, So
you were getting so many messages over that one. It was hilarious.
A lot of, a lot of my friends and a lot of my friends' wives, it threw them through a loop. I'm like, oh my God, Ryan. I'm like, is it my acting prowess? I don't know. It was, maybe didn't go the way that you anticipated. And maybe while we're on this, so from that stream back to this stream, before we get to the game, What about the commercials? Let's get that knocked out here for a second.
Yeah.
Commercials. We have thoughts. What are those thoughts? Where do we want to start with this, Brad? Do you want to go?
Yeah, I would like to start with the Budweiser commercial. Did you guys watch the Budweiser commercial?
With the horse and the bald eagle?
Yeah. Let's just play it for the people. Can we do that? Let me
Yeah, please.
okay. Let me pull this up. Maybe. What's the over under on this?
I'm gonna give you 4.5 seconds. I feel like that's a drastic.
All right, well, here we go. We're going to skip to this part right here. That part, how many of you guys think that was not CGI? How many of you guys think that was CGI or AI of some sort?
Feel like,
I'll be honest, I didn't think it was.
Did you think that was real?
no.
I don't know what I want to believe, but I want to believe it was real.
It was real.
Yeah.
That shot right there was shot real time with a real bald eagle. His name was Lincoln.
Oh, that's sick.
Flies above the Clydesdale as it runs below. Lincoln was trained to do these flyovers at the American Eagle Foundation in East Tennessee, the operator of the nation's largest bald eagle sanctuary, the same nonprofit organization that runs Dollywood's Eagle Mountain Sanctuary. That, when I saw this, I was like, that's badass. Hell yeah, God bless America. And then when I found out that shit was real, I was like, God damn.
Look at that thing. Majestic.
None of that was altered.
And there's a red one. There's
a heavy.
There's a Bud Heavy right
Bud
there.
Heavy.
Yeah, that was a phenomenal commercial. I will say, I know that AI has so many different components. I don't love all of the AI commercials and stuff. I do think the polar bear one with Pepsi and Coke,
that was funny.
That was funny. I like that one.
Yeah.
The other ones,
that was just badass. The fact that whole thing was actually done by a trained bald eagle
just shows you the real thing still gets it done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't tread lightly on the real thing. What about you for commercials?
Well, like I kind of talked about this before. I had a bad taste in my mouth going into this year's commercials because we'd seen so many of them early. I was sitting down with a group of friends on Saturday and we were watching the Olympics and this commercial comes on. And actually, it might have been the Budweiser commercial. And we're sitting there and I'm like, this is a Super Bowl commercial. Like, this is very clearly, and I'm like, why are we releasing Super Bowl commercials before the Super Bowl? Like, that was the big debut, like, stage. It was like, you get your best. You spend all year working on your very best. Here's the Super Bowl. Boom. Let's go. And like, I don't like that we released them early. I didn't like the AI ones. Like, it just felt like I appreciate that one because it's like, I would have rather that been the first time, but it was real. Like, it was actually, it reminded me of an old commercial, like an old Budweiser commercial where I'm like, yep, Budweiser nailed the Super Bowl commercial again. There's that dog. Love that. Stuff like that. I don't like seeing them early. I just, that's still, I think.
Post them now.
Yeah. Like, it just, I don't like, we need to end, like, we lost the plot. We still have good commercials. Like that Pepsi one, that was fantastic. If I would have first seen that on the Super Bowl, I would have been like, oh my gosh, that one might have won. But I'd seen it before. So I was like, yep, there's the Pepsi Coca-Cola commercial.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. Like, I'll be honest, I didn't catch every single commercial.
No, I didn't either.
Because that's what happens. And that's your worry. You don't see the commercial. But now's the perfect thing. You post all of them now. You put them all out now and you just recycle it over and over and over again. Because the ones I did see, Instacart, I liked. The Dunkin' Donuts one was good with Ben Affleck and throwing in Joey from Friends, which Zach doesn't know anything about, and them having the references. And then Jennifer Aniston comes in with Tom Brady. Like, I like that one.
Yeah.
What was the other one I thought? One that, like, I don't know how I felt about it because it was the karaoke theme where it was, to Backstreet's Back. Did you guys see that one?
Yes.
And so was I supposed to sing when that was happening during the commercial where it's throwing the words up and, am I original? Yeah. And then it keeps going.
But I will give you this because it was it ended up being a crypto commercial.
Yes.
So yes, extremely confused, but I liked it because I feel like it did exactly what it was supposed to do, because I was literally sitting with the group and we're watching it. And the entire time we just kept going, like literally out loud. We were like, who is this? Like, who do you think this is? Like, what commercials is? And it literally got you to pay attention because you were like, all right, who's doing this? Like, what are we getting here? So I think confusing, but like it was so different and simple that it got my attention. And because it was like, okay, who's doing this? Who's pulling this one off?
Did you guys see they had a lot more. I saw, I think it was Kieran saying it about more NFL affiliated commercials. But the one that I really did love that made me laugh, but it's for a great cause, was Bruce Arians about the tight ends.
Oh, yeah.
And then when Bruce goes, Gronk, what did you learn? And he goes, to loosen the tight end, to untighten the end. And then they like showed his backside where I'm like, oh, wow, I'm surprised you did that. Yeah. But it was a message about prostate cancer, right? Yeah. And getting checked. And, for me personally, you guys know him, and my dad was vocal about it. He had prostate cancer, and catching it early was a huge difference for him. And just like it said, for so many others, getting a test. So I thought that was a funny commercial, but also a good message. I still think the old Super Bowl commercials as a whole, I looked forward more to old commercials in the past than I do now. And I hate that. It felt like that was that one thing. You didn't know what to expect. You didn't know what was going to happen. And you'd wait for that moment to unfold on the big screen. So don't tease them out early. I'd rather them show it 100 times for 100 straight days after than to tease it 2 days before, a week before.
Yeah.
Because it just doesn't hit the same.
Definitely not.
So I digress. If you're new to the channel, though, hit that like and subscribe button. Anything else from that? Did we hit all those parts?
Yeah, I'm just hoping that next year's Super Bowl is actually a game, because I'm tired 2 years in a row being a blowout.
They almost had us. I thought when it was 12-0, and then the Patriots didn't score, but they got the ball and it was right out of half. It was like, I think their second possession, and you were sitting there and you're like, if they score here, it's a game. They didn't, but like you were sitting, like they kept it just close enough where you kept thinking, like, even when they got the ball back when they were down, what was that, 19-7, you were like,
yeah,
are they going to do this? They didn't. Once again, just to reiterate, they did not. But you started considering the idea of, are they going to do this? But that's, like you said, Brad, that's the closest we've gotten to competitive in the past 2 years.
And you know what? That's just the way the cookie crumbles. And some said that the Super Bowl really was the NFC Championship game, and people took offense to that. To be honest, it was. That game, the Rams had the ball at the goal line of Seattle with a chance to take the lead. And that was essentially the opportunity right there, because that was the closest intense moment over the last 2 weeks of Conference Championship week to the Super Bowl. And for the Pats, it turned out their entire postseason, they struggled mightily offensively. Defenses gave them a lot of trouble, but you know what? Congrats to them. They had a hell of a run going to the Super Bowl. They will be back. They will be in the fold moving forward, no doubt. I love what Vrabel's doing, love what Drake May is doing. And they had a great year, and it should be left at that. But then let's go to the other side with Mike Macdonald and Sam Darnold. And maybe we start with Mike Mack, because I know how everyone feels about him in Baltimore. And I know that this was, as we're talking about fun facts, and I see it here, that Seattle's defensive coordinator is British, and the Seahawks winning made it that an English coach won a Super Bowl before one won a Premier League Cup. Wow, that is fun fact right there. Yeah. How about that? But it was a great moment for so many reasons, right? There's one. But for Mike Macdonald, if you guys were hearing on the podium, Mike Mack apparently was close to not coaching, if you guys heard that correctly. Like, he was ready to hang it up. And so we know how we feel about Mike Macdonald here, and Ravens fans will know that. We had Mina Kimes on earlier last week talking about Mike Macdonald. So why don't we play that clip, and then we're going to react on the other side. Seahawks are in the Super Bowl.
Right.
The golden child of Baltimore, in this case, Mike Macdonald. I'm really happy for him. I think a lot of Baltimore fans are somewhat still sad over that. Just the timing didn't work. But what's one thing that you've noticed this year that was so different for Mike Macdonald from year 1 to year 2?
I feel like he had all of the pieces to execute his vision on defense. Part of the reason why I voted for Mike Macdonald for Coach of the Year was what he did in Seattle. He has now done in 2 separate places, which has taken a defense that finished bottom 5 and turned it into the best defense in the NFL. He did that in Baltimore. I know, sorry, Ravens fans. He leaves. He does it again in Seattle. And they were really good last year, which is why I was so high on them this year. But you saw they've continued to add talent. It's not even just first-round talent, obviously. Byron Murphy, the second's been fantastic. Devin Witherspoon is amazing. But player like Nicky Manwari, taken later round, who's sort of similar to Kyle Hamilton in some ways. Obviously, that gets thrown around a lot. Even undrafted guys, free agents like DeMarcus Lawrence. He's just been able to, I think, collaborate with the front office to bring in the guys that he wants, and the results speak for themselves.
I mean, I agree.
Yeah.
The results speak for themselves. And I think a big part saying his vision came to life in year 2 certainly did. I mean, Mike Mack got a couple more dogs on that side. And with his creativity and the intensity and the way that they played, their defense was ferocious all year. And I know that they had some moments where they got beat up a little bit, but most times throughout this year, that defense was dominant, and they were dominant when they needed to be. 2 of their last 3 games, the divisional round and the Super Bowl, that defense was a force.
Yeah.
And their special teams was a force. So it was awesome to see. And the one big part then, obviously you get Sam Darnold, and shout out to him, but anything you guys want to close on with Mike Macdonald, because he is already was a star in the making. Now he is a coaching star. In his second year, he wins a Super Bowl. I'm not going to say that they're going to go back and win next year. It's too damn hard to repeat. But if you're a Seahawks fan and you saw what they did and you can implement a little bit more. And by the way, Kenneth Walker, when he gets the backfield, is a beast.
Yeah.
JSN was taken out of the game for a while.
He really was.
Yep.
But that defense, if they can play to any type of style like that, they're going to be tough, man.
There's no reason why I don't think they can't run it back next year. And that's kind of scary to say, because outside of JSN, there and Kenneth Walker, okay, there really isn't anyone else on that side of the ball. Now give Sam Darnold his flowers, but like when we're talking about elite level players, I'm not sure I'm ready to give that to Sam Darnold yet, but there isn't anyone else on the offensive side of the ball that I would say is an elite level player. If they somehow get more of those elite level players, watch out, because especially on the defensive side of the ball, just because it's you didn't expect them to be a Super Bowl favorite going into this year, and they played dominant football all year long. There was definitely cases where you could make that they may have been undefeated this year. I don't see how that falls off next year. Not only that, but the pressure's on for these new coaches now, because you had Mike Vrabel that went in his first year to the Super Bowl. Mike Macdonald comes in his second year, wins the Super Bowl, and Johnson goes in, Ben Johnson, first time head coach in the playoffs, deep in the playoffs. Like there's a lot of pressure now on some of these newer coaches coming in that were just hired out of the 10 that got fired this season, for them to perform, or they might be on the hot seat quicker than they thought.
Yeah, I mean, Zach, do you know that stat on first-year head coaches to win? I don't know what it is off the top of my head.
I believe it's 2.
Yeah, so Gruden won one. We know that.
Yeah.
And there was another one. But
Dungy?
No, Dungy was a couple of years later. But the point being with this whole situation, it's hard to win. But also 2 things we're seeing at a high clip now is changing coaches, which there were 8 openings this past year. That's a fourth of the league. And also
Was it 8, 10, something like that?
it was up there. But even if it was just 8, that's a quarter of the league.
Yeah.
And the other part is, if your quarterback isn't performing, how quickly do you move off of them? Because on the other flip side of this, it's Sam Darnold, which we'll get into a second. But Zach, the one thing that if there's one part right now with the Seahawks that you're going to wonder is with Clint Kubiak officially, he's like, hey, I'm going to Vegas. He's gone.
Yeah.
What does that offense look like with a new offensive coordinator coming in? Because no doubt Clint had a huge impact on that group. They have talent, they have players, but a great offensive coordinator, as we've seen, can help maximize what you have. And I think that's the one question mark on that side of it is, how do they enhance their offense? Because I think their defense is going to be here to stay for a while.
Well, yeah, and that's what I was going to say is I'm not sure it matters. Like, yes, it matters in the grand scheme of things if you can't have a massive drop off, but the Seahawks won. Like, I didn't watch last night and think, damn, the Seahawks offense is humming. Like, this thing is, they're winning. I watched last night and I was like, I don't know if the Patriots are getting a first down. Like, that defense in the biggest moments did exactly what they needed. And the biggest stat for me offensively from the Seahawks all postseason, not a single turnover. They didn't turn over the ball once. We talk about just the untimely turnovers, especially if we bring it to a Ravens lens, where it feels like they're backbreaking. You look at Buffalo, Josh Allen, 4 turnovers in a game. All of a sudden, now your season's over. They forced turnovers, and they didn't turn the ball over. As long as they still have Mike Mack running that defense, as long as they still are playing at that level, JSN, like you said, we'll see where Kenneth Walker goes. Obviously, Sam Darnold, Cooper Kupp is getting up there. They're going to have to figure stuff out offensively, but really the biggest thing is for their offense, it's not about outscoring the other team. It's about just do your job, get the job done. And it's a lot of what we've talked about in Baltimore when we talk about the expectations now of a Jesse Minter, and people want to talk about, oh, why wouldn't you go an offensive-minded guy like a Kubiak with Lamar instead of a defensive guy? Well, Lamar and the offense are going to do what they do no matter what.
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson with whoever's an offensive coordinator is going to get the job done. He's going to score points. If you get a defense humming like Jesse Minter had the Chargers humming, like Mike Mack had the Ravens and then the Seahawks. I mean, we talked to Mina Kynes, and she said that she felt Minter was the best guy for the job for the Ravens to get that defensive mentality back. The furthest the Ravens and Lamar went in the playoffs was 2023 when Mike Mack had that defense as one of the all-time greats. It was a Triple Crown winning defense.
From ranking 25th the year prior.
Exactly. You go from that to, you talk about it, and I think that this was a great narrative-breaking Super Bowl. Sam Darnold, the giving up on quarterback. Oh, you have to have a superstar at quarterback to win a Super Bowl. No, you don't. You got to have a damn good team. Oh, you need an experienced coach that has been there, done that to win a Super Bowl. No, you don't. Mike Mack going into year number 2. Vrabel, yes, he has had experience in Tennessee. First year with the Patriots takes them to the Super Bowl. Like Brad said, I think expectations are now higher for these younger head coaches of, hey, this can be done. But I also think this was a great reminder by both teams throughout their entire playoff runs of, yeah, scoring points is going to help you a lot. But if you can't stop the other team, you will not win a Super Bowl.
And then know how your team plays, and that's why for Sam Darnold, because I want to give him his flowers now before we have Scott Garceau come on, because you're right. At the end of the day, the goal is you have to win. It doesn't matter how, you just have to.
Yeah.
And throughout the year, Sam Darnold had extremely, extremely great games. His best game arguably could have been the NFC Championship game. Stakes are on the line, and he was magnificent. In the Super Bowl, he didn't have to be Super Sam. He had to be efficient Sam, take care of the ball Sam, because that's what happened. And for 2 straight years, Sam Darnold was on a team with an elite defense. But with Sam taking care of the ball, the Vikings and the Seahawks, they won 14 games. And Sam Darnold, by the way, becomes the second quarterback in history with consecutive 14-win seasons. The other guy is Tom Brady.
Yep.
So I'm so happy for Sam because he understood what he had to do. Now, there was moments where we got picked up by his defense, right? That's what a team's supposed to do. But damn, dude, people were writing this guy off.
Yeah.
he was done
He was
in some
seeing
people's
ghosts.
mind. Yeah. Think how far he's come from the seeing ghost comments back in when he was a Jet playing the Patriots. And here he is. He's a Super Bowl champion after being a backup, jumping from team to team. So not only this, but this is a message I wanted to share today. He was asked after the game, it was multiple times, but about belief and having a system that believes in you. But it doesn't have to come from just your teammates. It starts with just your inner circle. So why don't we play that clip of him at the post presser?
Yeah. Yeah, it's just it's special. I mean, you know, I shared a great moment with my parents and my fiance Katie after the game, and I think that's what kind of got me a little bit. You know, I told me and my dad don't really cry very often, and you know, I told my dad I was, you know, and my mom, but you know, just I'm here because of their belief in me, and they believed in me throughout my entire career, and I think that's why I was able to believe in myself almost ad nauseum. Like some people called me crazy throughout my career for believing in myself so much and having so much confidence, but you know, it was because of my parents, because of the way that they believed in me throughout my entire career, and it allowed me to go out there and play free and have a ton of confidence.
So I want people to listen to that or let that process and sink in. Shit gets hard in life. You get knocked down a lot. And when you think you're at the top of your game or you feel like you're going to reach these new levels in an instant, that can be erased. And for Sam Darnold, it actually was the case. He was taken at 3rd overall by the New York Jets. And everyone was expecting him to be the savior of that Jets team. It didn't work out that way. And for many reasons, people were wondering, was he the issue? Was Sam Darnold the problem? And for a lot of time, people thought it was. He was the bust. He wasn't the guy living up to expectations. Right. Instead of looking at the fact of this is a young quarterback who was still extremely young for his draft class and was going out there trying to figure it out, which we've seen now was playing for a very dysfunctional organization, the Jets, that have still tried to find their way to get back to winning games. Now, for Sam Darnold, though, through that process, you could have thought, well, maybe I'm just not made for this. And to have someone tell you you are and that they believe in you, the power of believe and believing in somebody can go a long way because that allowed Sam to never waver on the fact that he could do this. And look at this. Look at this journey of it. He was a part of that 2018 class. He had already moved on the Jets, the Panthers, the 49ers, the Vikings, and then the Seahawks. And in his last 2 seasons, he played the best football of his career. And he's a Super Bowl champion, the first of that 2018 draft class to hoist the Lombardi. To me, it gives me goosebumps thinking about that because one thing in my journey, and I hate admitting it at times, but being honest with myself, I didn't always have that faith in myself as a player. I kind of I didn't say given in, but I struggled with that. And I lost that belief. And I'm not going to say that's the reason why things didn't work out for me moving forward. I don't know. But I promised myself I would never do that again. So getting into this media and we're doing all this, I go, you know what? I know this is going to work because I believe it's going to work. I'm not going to let it fail. And if I get smacked in the face left and right, which seems to happen, I'm going to bounce up and keep going. And so to see Sam Darnold do that personally, that it's a really cool thing to watch. So I'm so happy. And for anyone that's a young athlete out there, anyone that's struggling, whether you are a kid, teenager, adult, you're 32, 42, 52, I don't care how old you are. Have some belief in yourself. And if you do that, I'm telling you, that's the majority of the battle you have to have. Because if you have no belief, you never know what you can accomplish. And for Sam Darnold, what he accomplished, he's a Super Bowl champion on the best team in football. He's a world champion. And just a few years ago, everyone thought he was one of the biggest busts in the NFL. So kudos to Sam, kudos to his family, his friends, for being that support system. Be that support system for someone else. And congratulations to Sam Darnold.
God damn.
Yeah.
I'm ready for a run through a brick wall, Rip. That was That was awesome.
Yeah, gosh, I blacked out right there. How'd that happen? But I mean every word of it. And
that was great.
Yeah,
I love that.
But also too, I hope you guys are going to see the rest of the interviews we had. The reason why I love talking to people is I love them telling you exactly what's going on. And I love that Sam shared that moment. And it's not just about it's a feel good, right? It's not. It's a legit reminder that you can succeed. You still can. And when you're saying, oh, well, he's an NFL quarterback, dude, it's the concept that matters. Look at everyone that's talked to that's gone off to a place. They always said it happened when they least expected it, or they kept pushing and pushing. All these success stories come from people that just never lacked faith in what they did.
Yep.
And if they did, they had someone else that had them back. I remember seeing Steve Harvey on TV. There was some saying he had a group that brought him in, and they helped him fly out to have his auditions, and they helped take care of him.
Yeah.
Those are two people that helped him. Until this day, he looks back and said, at a moment where I didn't know where my career was going, they gave me some support.
That was just like the story with Loxley. We talked about story with Loxley and Stephon Diggs, not getting drafted when he thought he was going to get drafted, and they just went out and worked out, like doing stuff like that, taking care of his family. Like, to your point, having people in your corner is super important, and giving you the belief that you can do it.
I mean, look, it goes a long way. They joke about it with Ted Lasso, but when you point, believe. It's corny. I'm a corny guy, but like that is the truth.
Yeah.
No one that went on to accomplish something didn't have faith that they could do it. They could have some doubt set in, right? Like you can go, man, you could have moments of going, is this going to work?
Right.
I'm nervous. I'm stressed. But when it came down to it, did you keep pushing? Did you test that limit to see if you would fail? Did you push past it? And if you answered no, then you never really found out.
Yeah.
And most people that didn't answer that question, or they said, I kept pushing, and the answer was yes, those are the ones that you see that have these remarkable stories. So there's so many. Sam Darnold just happens to be the one at the biggest level. So if you're new to the channel, hit that like and subscribe button. Ryan Ripken Show. We do this live Monday through Friday. We're back doing this live Monday through Friday from 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern time. We're on YouTube, X, Facebook, but you can also listen on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcast. And for everyone on those podcast platforms, we will put out every interview that we just had from Radio Row. So those will be our bonus episodes that will go out there. And then we'll have some of those specifically that will go straight to YouTube as well, including one we will tease at the end of the show. So without further ado, if you're ready, Scott, just give me a thumbs up if you can hear me and you're ready to rock and roll. Boom. So I've gotten to know Scott a lot over the years. He's got a very diverse background in the sports world. So, but from broadcasting to, even now in this case, being one of the NFL voters for the Hall of Fame. Let's bring on Scott Garceau. Scott, can you hear me?
I got you.
How are we doing today? Happy Monday.
I'm doing fine. The day after the Super Bowl, right? Super Bowl hangover day.
Yeah.
So starting off with that, Scott, I mean, on the Monday after the Super Bowl, where does that rank on Mondays throughout the year? It can't be too high on the list because you're sitting there going, what do I do with my time now? If you stayed up late, you might be tired. If you had a little too many alcoholic beverages, then you're really hurting. But what do you make of the Monday after Super Bowl Sunday? Because now there's this quiet time.
Yeah, right. For about 20 years, when we voted on Super Bowl Saturday, I was at the game, right? So it was scrambling to get home and occasionally taking an extra day, maybe play golf with a friend and come back on Tuesday. But I just looked today, so there's not much going on. There's a good college basketball game tonight. Arizona and Kansas play at 9, so I guess I'll check that out. Two of the best teams in the country. But it is usually a day for reflection about what happened the day before and the season before for a couple of teams, right? And talking about commercials and halftime shows, everything that goes with the Super Bowl.
Yeah, we got through all of that, and then you might have heard my little monologue on Sam Darnold, and you just got to believe, and you got to keep pushing forward.
Yeah,
that was
good
my
story.
Yeah, it was amazing. And did we talk about commercials? Yes, we did. We talked about
Sure.
all of it, But now, at the end of this, Scott, I actually want to get one of your favorite baseball stories as we get closer here, because you know what, teaser,
It's coming.
It's here. You might not be able to tell that from outside here in Maryland.
Yeah.
It still feels like -5 outside.
Yeah.
I just talked to my buddy in West Palm. He said the weather has broken down here. They had some lows in the 30s, which doesn't happen down there, but I guess it was like 81 and sunny today. So you can play golf in that weather.
Oh, it's 81 and sunny. I feel terrible.
Yeah. I told him that. I feel bad.
Yeah, gosh. Well, on this case, for people that might not know, and this is why I wanted you to join for this time, you just talked about the voting process. You vote from the Baltimore sector, correct, on the Hall of Fame, right?
Yeah,
So
I'm one of 50. I'm one of 50 idiots. Right. That's what we call ourselves, because every year we are idiots, right? And this year kind of jumped front and center, right? And people said, "Were you shocked that Belichick didn't get in?" I said, "I was surprised, but I'm never shocked, because that's kind of my outlook on life anyway." But things can happen. One of the things I've said is, everybody knows why Pete Rose isn't in the Hall of Fame, right? The all-time hit leader. He's a walk-in Hall of Famer, and the same with Barry Bonds. And sometimes they're extending circumstances. And I think that's what happened here, apparently, because, you needed 40 out of the 50 to say yes to Bill Belichick, and it didn't happen. And I was surprised. I thought he would walk in first ballot. I also thought Robert Kraft would be there this year. But Ryan, do you know who Ralph Hay is?
I'm not sure if I do.
I don't think you do, and I don't think anybody else does either. But Ralph Hay was the contributor on the ballot last year, and he didn't get elected. Ralph Hay owned the Canton Bulldogs, and he got George Halas and a bunch of guys that had football teams together in his showroom in Canton, Ohio. And they sat on the floorboards of cars as he figured out how to launch the National Football League. So he is the founder of the league, the owner of the Canton Bulldogs. And I think in the presentation last year, they mentioned that he is the only founder of major professional sports that isn't in that Sports Hall of Fame. And I was hoping he would get elected last year, but the process has changed the last couple of years. So now we have senior players, coaches, and contributors all in one pile. And that makes it tough. How do you do Ken Anderson versus Ralph Hay, right? I mean, a quarterback from the 70s and 80s against an owner from the 20s who founded the league. So it makes it tough.
It does make it challenging. And to be honest, it's kind of confusing for me personally of how it's all being sorted. I got to talk to Brian Billick at Radio Row this past week. So we actually have a clip of that, of just Brian talking a little bit about the Hall of Fame process. So I wanted to play that clip for you, and then we can continue talking about it. So Brad, can you play that clip?
Yep.
Obviously, because obviously it's like everybody said, well, what do you got to do to be in the Hall of Fame? I don't understand. Now, if those things that you mentioned are indeed a factor, okay, I get that. But all of Pete Rose is it's okay, but next year it's okay. Yeah, we'll just penalize him not being a first ballot, and we'll now. I someone has to explain that to me.
Yeah,
I think the Hall needs to look real hard at the selection process and the people that they're doing it, and what it is that they're trying to accomplish, and what those standards are. Because you're talking about the Hall of Fame, something that's got to sustain itself forever, and there's got to be a touchstone, a foundation of what is it to be a Hall of Famer? What does that represent in this great game? And I'm not sure that they have a firm handle on that right now.
So, and this is a bigger discussion, right, Scott? Because, again, to the point where he's trying to reference with Pete, we know Pete's situation to me is a little bit different.
Yeah, because he wasn't on the ballot. Yeah.
Correct. And just all of that. But in general of how does this process work? The MLB side of it, there's more voters, and then you got to get 75% of the vote. You get 75% of the vote, you're in. For the NFL, the process to me is just a little just confusing, just as a as just
I get it.
fan of it, right? So I mean, because the other part here, Scott, which I hate on this sense, is that the way it's set up is that it's going to point to the 50, as you said, hey, it's us, the 50 idiots here that are trying to put it together, which I think it's a double-edged sword here, which I think obviously, that comes with tremendous responsibility, and you guys have that right then in that sense, whether it is the right or wrong decisions, but also it puts all of this on you 50.
Sure.
And that's a lot of criticism. And honestly, the pushback of why so much happened is because of Bill.
Sure.
And it's going down to the 50 of you. So, I mean, maybe if you could explain this process and what you think could possibly change then from it.
Yeah, the Belichick thing could cause some changes, and there've been. I think I'm in my 23rd year coming up, and there've been changes throughout. Something happened 2 years ago that isn't good for people trying to get in the Hall of Fame. They changed the voting process. Mm-hmm. So up until 2 years ago, and there were a couple of changes in there, but basically when we went through the modern era guys, Suggs and Yonda this year, when we went through those guys, when we started our meeting, which usually lasts 8 to 9 hours, by the way. We don't just send in a paper ballot. So that's why I think our process is somewhat flawed at times, but I think it's the best process in professional sports. It's thorough. We go through weeks and weeks of information, calls from coaches, call from owners. You are inundated with information. And then we sit down, usually in person until COVID hit, for a 9-hour meeting and thoroughly discuss the candidates, positives, negatives, back and forth. Presentations. I think it's a good process, but it isn't perfect. If you get 50 people in a room, it's not always going to come out well. Here's what happens now. So the modern era guys, we come in with 15 that are finalists. We go through the process, talk each one up, and then we're asked to pick our 10 tops. So we eliminate 5, right? CPAs leave the room. They come back, tell us who the 10 are. And then we make another cut. And in the past, we made the cut from 10 to 5. Now we're down to our 5 modern finalists, and then it's simply a yes and no ballot. They pass out a slip of paper to us that says Ryan Ripken, yes, no. And at that point, 98% of the time, or close to that, it was always yes. We start off with 160 some each year. If you cleared all those hurdles and got down to 5, you better explain why you're not voting for that 5, because we're there to put guys in the Hall of Fame, not to keep them out. And occasionally you'd get one, but usually never. Now what happens, we get to 10 from 15 to 10 like we always did. Now they ask us, instead of cutting from 10 to 5, we cut to 10 to 7. And at that point, we vote for our top 5. So from the case where it used to be yes or no, up and down, and you would almost get 5, last year we only got 3 modern players in. This year we got 4. The last 2 Hall of Fame classes have been the smallest in over 20 years. And because when you get down to the final 7, they are all strong candidates. And you are going to take votes from me, and I'm going to take votes from you. And when we get to the end, there might be some real good Hall of Famers that might get there in a year or two that are at 71% or 68%, but they're not at 80% and they don't get in. And so when you have a maximum of 5 and you're only getting 3 or 4, I don't like that, because there's really a backlog on some real good Hall of Famers. I'm knocking on the door with Suggs and Yonda, and the great news for them this year, they both made the final 7. So of the final 7, 4 got in, only 3 didn't. Yonda, Suggs, and Willie Anderson, offensive tackle from the Bengals. So they're right there. Hopefully one gets in next year, maybe the other the year after. But I think in the next 2 to 3 years, hopefully they're both in there.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I'm glad you brought up Suggs and Yonda, because that is where people look at, especially in Baltimore. That's where everyone's looking. Yonda, Suggs, come on. Suggs is top 8 in sacks, and he's got the most tackle for losses. Now, offensive linemen, it's different for the voting. And especially for Yonda, you watched him, and I remember for me as a kid to now as a in my early 30s, Zach, at 32.
Early. Yeah.
Early 30s.
Emphasis on the early.
Early 30s, because everyone thinks the Ripken hairline, Scott, it's like that. But the part was these guys should be in. Like they look like Hall of Famers. You watch their career, they pass the eye test, but this process of how it happens, of how hard it is to get that, because that's the difference with baseball, where you get X amount of votes, right, for the voters for MLB, and then
it's like 500,
yeah, and so you need to get 75. So could have.
But Ryan, even in baseball, you see guys coming out at 26% their first year, and they're up to 41%, and over a 4 or 5 year period, suddenly they're up to 75, and they become Hall of Famers. Because the line of yells get, well, either a guy's a Hall of Famer or he isn't. I don't know what this is about. Yeah, but who else is on the ballot that year? Because there are a whole bunch of guys that have had Hall of Fame caliber careers. I remember the last year, Joe Jacoby, it was his last year on the ballot. He was going to fall into the seniors category. Been on the ballot for 20 years. And man, I wanted him to get in. I didn't present him, but I thought, you think about those Redskin championship teams, 3 different quarterbacks, but the one constant was the Hogs and Rago, man. They made their living running the football. And Russ Grimm was the only Hall of Famer on that line. And now Jacoby doesn't make it his last year. He falls in the senior category, and it's like falling off a cliff. You may come back again and have a shot, but generally that's kind of the end of the line. And this year, Ryan, that's what we have on the other side. I talked about the 15 modern day guys. On the other side, we had 5 candidates. We could vote for 3. 3 of them were senior players. The one that got in was Roger Craig. Ken Anderson didn't make it. L.C. Greenwood didn't make it. Robert Kraft didn't make it. And Bill Belichick didn't make it. And I've read selectors and heard selectors say if it's anywhere close between a contributor, maybe even a coach and a player, I think it's more of a Players Hall of Fame. I'm going to lean with the player. And for L.C. Greenwood and Ken Anderson, this might have been their last chance to be Hall of Famers. And there may have been some voters that said, and I wasn't one of them, but there may have been some voters that said, you know what? Belichick's going to walk in next year, or Kraft's going to walk in next year. This is the last chance for these guys. And I'm going to give L.C. Greenwood or Ken Anderson a vote, or Roger Craig, who did get the 80%.
Brad, you got a follow up?
Yeah, Scott, I was just kind of looking ahead, right? And to your point, with the small amount of players that can go into the Hall of Fame year over year, and you look at next year, and you got AP, Adrian Peterson, Antonio Brown,
Big Ben,
Richard Sherman, Rob Gronkowski, who should be. These are ones that I'm sitting here and thinking, okay, if Suggs didn't get in this year, or Yanda didn't get in this year, and by and large, I think Terrell Suggs should have been a first year, just given his repertoire. And I look at this now, next year, seems like it's going to get even harder for a guy like him to get in, because, I mean, how do you not vote Adrian Peterson in? How do you not vote Rob Gronkowski in? And then the numbers of guys that are allowed in gets even smaller. So to me, I think it's just like, man, this is really tough to watch.
It's a numbers game. Yeah, think about this. Frank Gore's 3rd all-time in rushing. He was on the ballot this year. He didn't get in. Jason Witten, get this, 4th all-time in receptions, not among tight ends, among any receivers. That's a pretty strong Hall of Fame candidate there as well. So, yeah, it's not automatic. But I think the fact that Suggs and Yanda both made finalists this year, the final 7, I think they got a real good shot in the next 2 to 3 years. Now, Big Ben, I think he's a Hall of Famer. He may not be a first ballot Hall of Famer, right? Eli Manning's in that group. I think Matt Ryan eventually will be in there. Rivers would have been eligible this year, but then he decided to come back, and Grandpa wanted to play football. So he got pushed down the road for 5 years.
Yeah. It's a good point. Also, apparently gets that health care back with the NFL. Yeah. He's got an extensive family there, Scott. So
sure. I look at the ballot going in and kind of play a little head game with myself. And I looked this year and I said, you know what? I think Breeze and Fitzgerald are stand up, sit down, first ballot guys. They're going to get in. Luke Kuechly's a 5-time first-team All-Pro. By the way, Breeze and Fitzgerald were 1-time first-team All-Pros. So you got to be careful how you deal with all that. We know those guys our eyes told us they were Hall of Famers. But I thought Kuechly would get in this year, his second year on the ballot. He was in the final 7 last year. And that's what happened. Those 3 got in. And then Adam Vinatieri, considered the greatest kicker of all time, most clutch kicker of all time. He was the 4th.
So, Scott, to go on with this, because this is another part that, I mean, personally, just from things that I experienced on the baseball side, and since we're talking about with Suggs and Yanda and even some other players, Terrell Owens got brought into this conversation, years past.
Yeah.
But with the narrative is around, do voters have certain bias because of off the field issues or any type of character parts? Because what was thrown out there with Belichick was, well, is it the Spygate, which very well, that's a huge part of the scandal. Is it that they don't like Bill because of all of that? And some of the players, was their reputation off the field an issue, or the time that they played? Because I'll flip to the baseball side, Scott. This is why I'm asking.
Yeah.
I have a personal connection on the baseball side because my dad, when he went into the Hall of Fame in 2007, there were voters that did not vote or turn in their ballot to protest the steroid era. Now, Calvin turned out okay. He got 97.5% vote.
Yeah, he made it.
But the point was, it was for protest for the steroid era. My dad was in the quote-unquote steroid era, but you know who got 100% of the vote years later? Was Mariano Rivera. And when did Mo pitch? He pitched during the steroid era, obviously later on. So could you maybe talk about that side of?
Sure.
Go ahead.
It's a little easier. They don't ask us to play God. Our bylaws in the Pro Football Hall of Fame say we are only supposed to consider what a player does between the lines.
Okay.
So if he was arrested for stealing a car last year or domestic abuse the year before, under the bylaws, we're not supposed to consider that. Now, there is human nature, right? The bylaws are the bylaws, but I think the Hall of Fame has a mission statement that talks about integrity and the good of the game and all that. But under our bylaws, we're not supposed to consider it. Now, on the Belichick situation, that's a little different because Spygate, Deflategate, and those things affected the on-field performance. So that could be something that a voter could consider. And maybe there were 10 voters that said, you know what? The league fined them the maximum fine. They took away a first-round draft pick. They crossed the line more than once. Maybe I feel that Belichick could wait a year. And that's, I mean, you can't look at his resume and say, well, he didn't win enough Super Bowls or games, right? So the only reason you can come up with, maybe there are a couple of guys that said, I'm going to vote for the seniors because I think Belichick will get enough votes anyway. And then maybe there were some people that said, you know what, Belichick crossed the line a lot, and let him wait a year.
Mm-hmm. And just because like part of it would be just looking at like Suggs's career, there was some off the field things that didn't impact him on the field, but that is something. Terrell Owens was an example of, he's third all time in receiving stats, and it would look like from the outside, but we know as a persona, he rubbed people the wrong way. And that's why I bring up the human nature. I'd love to say wholeheartedly that everyone just get a vote on what you do between the lines, but I don't think that that's always the case. And I'm not saying with you all, I'm just saying.
No, there's human nature. There's human nature. And you know what? The guy from Baltimore, I've seen Suggs and Yanda more than anybody else. So maybe I'm going to pull their lever over some other guy. And you talked about Yanda being a guard. We go to games to watch quarterbacks and watch guys coming off the edge like Suggs sack the quarterback and great running backs. We don't put our eyes on guards. But here's one of the things that I presented this year. We had 18 players available this year, 15 modern, three in the seniors division. Of the 18, only one of those was a unanimous all-decade selection. And we're the same group. The Pro Football Hall of Fame selectors is the same group that picks the all-decade team. So I thought that was really strong. I think Adrian Peterson is also unanimous all-decade. That last all-decade team had 53 players on it between first and second team, and there were 6 or 7 all-decade unanimous. And it was like Brady, Aaron Donald, J.J. Watt, Adrian Peterson, Yanda. who they were kind of like, oh, these guys are Hall of Famers. These guys are in. So that was really strong for Marshall. I also had another stat where he went just under 2 years. It was 1,000 and some pass game snaps, passing snaps, where he did not only not give up a sack, he did not give up a pressure. 2 years, over 1,000 snaps. So he was a special player, and he's a Hall of Famer.
Hey,
Just not yet officially.
You don't have to convince me, Scott. I think he's a beast. Yeah. And some people that I've gotten to know in the NFL that played against him, they're like, "Oh, dude, I hated going against Yonda because
I had a bunch of those from defensive players." Also, I think it was Quentin Nelson said whenever they'd get ready, and Quentin Nelson might be in Canton someday. He said, whenever we'd get ready for a game, I'd go back to see if the Ravens played them in the last year or so, because I wanted to look at Marshall Yonda because he was the best at what he did, and I could learn so much just watching how he handled guys.
Well, and that was the peers. So a couple things, then we'll get to the Orioles or your best baseball story and get you out of here if that's okay. Are we good with that, Scott? Cool.
Yeah, I'm in no rush.
Well, hey, I appreciate that, Scott. To the point of talking about the on the field work, you mentioned a guy just a second ago, Tom Brady. So this is where it's going to be interesting. Tom has accomplished literally everything. Is the Deflategate? That's what people are saying. Okay, if Tom doesn't get in, is that going to be talked about because of that one part of it? And that's an
on-field thing. Yeah, that's an on-field thing. My personal opinion, and I'm allowed to give this. There's some things they don't want us to talk about. I don't think it should keep him out of the Hall of Fame. He was so good and dominant that if he crossed the line, I heard somebody at one point say, how big of an advantage would that have been for him to be able to control the footballs? And this was a pretty good at Football Insider.
Yeah. That
knows the game pretty well. He said, certainly less than 1%. He goes, I don't know if it'd even be 0.5%. So, I guess I can go on record. He's not on the ballot right now. I will probably vote for Tom Brady.
I mean, but so that's my point, right? Where it's the eye test of what you do. It's not.
Yeah, sure. And we get buried in information, Ryan, but oftentimes it comes to, if you've been around the game, your eyes, guys separate themselves on the field. You look at guys and go, wow. And when they do that for an extended period, because some guys go wow for 2 or 3 years and then they're never heard from again. And that probably isn't a Hall of Famer, right? But if you have that wow about you with your peers and you're voted to all pro teams and Pro Bowls and all decade teams, your eyes should tell you that's a Hall of Famer. But it does, you are splitting hairs sometimes when you get down to the last groups.
For sure. And one thing I just, which it's gotten a lot of backlash, overall. Like, this is the hottest vote that I can remember of outrage from people. I don't know if just because I'm finally on social media. I wasn't really on it much until I retired in 22. But then, like, Randy Moss, I don't know if you saw his comments the other day. Randy Moss yesterday on the broadcast was saying, I think all players should vote. And I didn't agree with that.
I'll tell you what, players will screw it up worse than the idiots do. Because players never know. They vote. Ryan, you played professional baseball. I bet you if you think back in the clubhouse of the guys you played with, because I used to do this on an NFL level, a little bit on the baseball side. If you got 25 guys in the clubhouse, I bet you could find 10, 11 of those guys that are pretty good fans and they know what's going on in the major leagues and they're following players and teams because they probably grew up that way. And you could find another 10 on the team that don't know anything. They play ball, they work out. They're trying to be the best player they can be, but they're not sitting home watching Sunday Night Baseball.
Yeah, I think this is the part of saying if it's Hall of Famers voting, but this is what it all comes down
to. By the way, Ryan, just for information side, we have 5 Hall of Famers that are in our group.
Yeah.
Dan Fouts, Hall of Fame quarterback, Tony Dungy, Hall of Fame coach, Bill Polian, Hall of Fame GM, James Lofton, Hall of Fame receiver. I think there's 5 of us, but those are some of the people, and we respect their opinions a lot, and we solicit their opinions at times in our meetings. What did you think about this guy? You played against him. You coached him.
Yeah, and I think just above all, at the end of the day, because I'll just speak honestly from a player's side, as much as in theory that is something that you have, at the end of the day, whoever it is, player, writer, voter, whichever the background is, you have to be objective to it. And I think that will be the curious thing. This isn't just football. MLB is the one that I look at a lot too. Can you be objective, but then can you stay that certain objective line from year to year? And I think that's the part that's why there's been so much in question, is just because the standard of what it's supposed to be for some people like you, Scott, it sounds like you have you're talking about the guidelines, you're talking about the NFL, you're talking about what it's supposed to represent, be objective between the lines, integrity of the hall, whatever it is, right? That some people have their own reasonings. It's the same thing with the hall or the even voting, the MVP voter that voted for Justin Herbert, he voted for him because in his mind, he did more. And I think every voter has that right. But in this case, how does it stay to this as much as possible? And if it does that, then I think we'll be in a good position. But Scott, I mean, you gave me a lot there.
Well, you know what? One thing I would say, you talked about integrity of the hall, and I think that's really important. And when you're asked to do this job, there are some guidelines, and you try to play by the rules. And I think some of our selectors didn't play by the rules this year. There were things. I think the leak probably came from Belichick's camp. Once he got the call that he wasn't in, he probably told people close to him, and they told somebody, and so that's. But a lot of the voters released how they voted ahead of time. I got a lot of calls and emails. How did you vote? Just give me an up or down. And I said, I can't do that because I'd be violating the trust that the Hall of Fame has put into me. And then the other thing, that doing this as long as I have, this is a life-changing experience. Yeah. If you saw the Roger Craig video, that guy, he'd waited over 25 years for this, probably didn't think it was going to happen. And to see how his life changed and the happiness. I remember when Madden got elected, and you figure John Madden, he's going to get in at some point. He came in like a 4-year-old, just hugging people and jumping up and down and couldn't believe it. Ralph Wilson was almost 90, the owner of the Bills, when he got elected, and he stood up there and with tears in his eyes and talked about what it meant to him. So you want to be careful. It means so much to so many people. You want to try to do it with integrity and get it right.
Yeah, and that's the goal. It is so impactful. That's why people get this type of way and this feeling, because it does mean so much to not just the individual that's going in, but to all those people that are associated with that said individual. It's a process. So I'm excited when Yonda and Suggs, they will.
Hopefully, they're knocking on the door, Ryan. We got to kick it in.
Knock on. Yeah, let's smack open that door, Scott. On the way out here, because it's baseball season. Almost baseball season. Can you give me just one of your favorite stories? Doesn't have to be on the field. If it's a game, great, or just something right there that you hold to all the years of covering.
There's two things on the baseball side that I'll take to the grave with me. One of them, your dad was there. 1982, when they come down the stretch and they're battling the Brewers, and they don't get there. They don't get there. But it's Palmer against Sutton, and there's so much electricity in the air. They lose the game. It's Earl's last game. He's going to retire, and nobody leaves the stadium. And Earl comes back out with tears in his eyes and hugs Harvey Keene at home plate. And it was just kind of a Baltimore. These are our guys. We love them. We didn't make it, but we love them. And then the other one was 1988, after the 0-21 start, when suddenly we heard, I was on the road trip with the team, and we heard they're going to do a fantastic fans day. I think they'd lost about 17 straight at that point. And they're thinking, okay, we're going to come home from this road trip, and then they're going to welcome us home. And then I would go, hey, I just heard they've sold over 30,000 seats. And guys were going, really? Really? And then the next day they've sold 38,000. And then 2 days later, a day later, they've sold out the stadium. Wow. They've sold out the stadium. And it was kind of like Baltimore saying, you know what, these guys might be bums. And they were, if you look at the record, right, 0-21. I guess they came home, they had won the game in Chicago, so they had one win. But the stadium was sold out. And I was emceeing something down in the field, and somebody from the Orioles came and said, we've got to change. You're going to introduce Governor Schaefer. I forget if he was mayor or governor at the time. But anyway, he came down, pointed up to Edward Bennett Williams, who died later that year, was battling cancer, and said, today, this man and I have reached agreement, and we're going to build a new stadium at Camden Yards. Wow. So a 1 in, I don't know what they were at that point, 1 in 24 team with a sold-out stadium, announcing a new stadium. That was a pretty special Baltimore night, too. They're not always championship nights.
No. Well, we're talking about baseball.
I'll never forget 21-31. I mean, that's at the top of everybody's list for historical significance. But those were kind of came out of nowhere, unplanned events that were just pretty special.
Yeah, Scott, if you had said the 21-31 just as your only event and said, oh, it's so special, I would have thrown you off this.
Yeah, right off the show, right?
Yeah, right.
A little more creative than that.
Yeah, like seriously, that's what I remember that. Well, of course, no shit. I don't remember the game, but I know
28 was my favorite. I think.
Hey, you know what? Mike Mussina helped my dad get back on track. My dad, we did a little interview with him here, and I said you homered on 21-30 and 21-31. He goes, well, I also homered on 21-29 and 28, maybe. But he said Mike Mussina said, hey, Cal, try something with your hands or just change it up. And then he went big ball. And then he went big ball.
Imagine that. Cal changed his stance.
Shocker.
That's the first time that ever happened, right?
Classic, right? But overall, Scott, I mean, the thing that I tell people here, and you know this better than anybody, Baltimore is a proud sports city, and they love their football. They love it. But, man, does this city love their baseball? And I'm hoping this 43-year drought now for the Orioles not having a world championship, I hope that comes to an end this year because I know the fans deserve it. They earned it. And
hey, Ryan, you're in your early 30s. I'm not. I want one more of those. I was here in '83, but I want one more before I call it a day.
hey, deal on that, Scott. Hey, I loved. Appreciate you coming on. Love chatting with you.
Enjoyed it. Anytime.
Anything that you got going on or where people can follow what's been happening with you?
No, I'm getting ready to head to the Bahamas next week. That sounds good after this winter, right? Taking the grandkids and the whole family. So
yeah, you got spot for one more?
People say, are you retired? I go, kind of. I go, the phone still rings. Sometimes I answer it.
Yeah.
It's all good. Well, can't play much golf this time of year, though. It gets a little slow.
Yeah, a little bit. Well, Scott, save me a seat in the Bahamas, and we'll. I'll have a
cocktail with an umbrella on it for you.
There you go.
Okay, have 2 or 3 of those for me. But Scott, I appreciate you. I look forward to having you on again, and I look forward to seeing you during this baseball season.
All right, be good.
Scott Garceau, everybody.
Thanks,
Scott. Great guy. Great guy.
I mean, just tons of perspective.
Tons of perspective.
I thought that was great.
So that's why he was great to have on, because one, going through this whole process, I knew that he'd be able to explain it. One, and 2, understand of each issues that you have to face. And our goal here, right? You come to the Ryan Ripken Show, we give you insight to understand why. That's our goal.
Yep.
Take you behind the scenes. And then also, I knew Scott was a great guy for the baseball stories, because those are the ones I'm talking about that embody behind the scenes. It's easy. I joke about it. Yeah, 21-31 was a phenomenal night. I know that. But it's the behind the scenes stuff.
The stuff that people don't know about.
Yeah. The fact that the Orioles hadn't won games in that season, that was my grandfather got fired as the manager that year.
Yeah.
After the first 6 games, they're like, you know what, Cal Sr., you're out of here. Frank Robinson, you're in, and you lose 15 more games with Frank. So
exactly.
It's rough. It's rough. And the fact that the Baltimore faithful during that still showed up for their appreciation, I thought that is so cool.
Yeah.
And shout out to the fans, man. This is why, as we continue to go more national, which is our goal, we always are going to be rooted here in Baltimore and in Maryland. Why? Because we're from here. We care about here. Right. So and we care about all of you. So if you are new to the channel, hit that like and subscribe button. Ryan Ripken Show. We do this live every Monday through Friday from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern time right here on YouTube, X, and Facebook. And then it's on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. And great point. Could you imagine if the Orioles lost 21 in a row now?
Oh my God.
I would just drop the O's are fine right then and there. And everyone, animals' heads are falling off or whatever. What's the line in is that Dumb and Dumber? Heads are falling off.
Oh, yeah.
Is that it? Yeah. Good
I don't
stuff.
know if I'm trying to think at what point how bad the losing streak would have to get before I just stopped doing post-game shows.
No, you couldn't.
Like if they got to like 30 straight, if I'd be like, okay, everyone, we're just going to wait for a win. Like we're not recapping until we get a win.
No, that's just when you do dumb shit like ask Zach to eat weird raw fruit and vegetables.
Kevin just going off on some potatoes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is pretty weird. Yeah. But you know what? That's you break a slump. That's the superstition right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Grow yourself serial killer mustache, whatever you want to call it. Porn stash.
Oh. That'd be nice. Maybe I need. No, I don't.
You know what that's like.
Yes, that was hide your wife, hide your kids, lady. You're scaring us type of material right there. Gosh, you guys are new. Hit that like and subscribe. Well, we were covering all of the football, and we kind of hit baseball there. So maybe Zach, we can take a quick trip around Maryland. Brought to you by our friends over at Next Move Charm City and the Blanchard team at Lone Depot. Shannon, Brett, Rich, appreciate you guys. And if you are looking to make I don't have my glasses, next move, whether it's city, suburbs, or shore. Yeah, here we go. Give it to me. Oh, fumble. If you're looking to make your move, whether it's city, suburbs, or shore, make the right move with Next Move Charm City. Boom. So guys, we talked the football side, Maryland and basketball. It's still and the Commanders are The Wizards, we got some news about they're acquiring players, and it's kind of interesting, but they're still kind of in a weird spot.
Very weird.
We'll get into that in the future, but right now we'll go to the baseball side. Which, if you're looking at spring training and the Orioles making moves, I have great news for you. There is none. So the only thing is they did open the new Ed Smith officially. Uncle David Rubenstein, he cut the ribbon with Uncle Mike, and they welcomed in the new complex, which looks state of the art. Hopefully get a tour of that going down to Sarasota.
Pretty sick from what I understand.
Yeah, it looks neat. And maybe we'll get some insights from some guys down there that maybe can join the show to talk about it.
Yeah.
That is there's still no news on the pitcher side, but there is a move in the AL East, which the Red Sox, they just added another bat to their lineup. So Zach, pull that up, or Brad, whammy. Caleb Durbin, that's the main piece in this trade, is going from the Brew Crew to the Red Sox. And look, honestly, I like this move for Boston, where they're adding another bat. They're adding a guy that can make things happen. And like for Caleb, he was the Brew Crew guy that just made things happen, right? So what's kind of the motto when you watch the Brewers play? They scratch, they claw, and they just make things tough. I think that's something that Caleb can provide. Now, he can provide a little bit of pop, right? He had 11 jacks last year, but only 20, going to be 26 this year, or he already is 20. Mm-hmm. He'll be 26 at the end of February, towards the end of February. Yeah. So I really like the upside of what he can be for the Red Sox. Now, in the other sense, which is kind of crazy, I don't think anyone from the Devers trade is now left with Boston, because Kyle Harrison, the big name on the deal going back to the Brewers, he was the lefty that was in the deal for Rafael Devers, and they already traded away some of the other players, but that's the main one right there. But you know what the Brewers are going to do? They're going to unlock Kyle Harrison, and we're going to see him absolutely shoving down the stretch here. But guys, like, that is the move. Boston, they pivoted. They got a young player that has good upside. Boston, I think, got better on the short term, and I think Milwaukee's going to do what they normally do. They're going to make do with what they have, and they're going to have one of these guys pan out. That's what they seem to do with moves. And that's kind of it. I mean, and that's the thing is I know people are saying, oh, well, the Milwaukee's just trading away guys. They're not going to compete. They're going to compete. They're just like the Rays in the sense that they're going to compete. And the Central's wide open. I know the Pirates added Asuna. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
So I get that. But objectively right now, tell me who's winning the NL Central, and you can't give me an honest answer. I'm going to trust that the Brewers are still going to be able to battle this year.
Yeah, this one was, I don't know. Like, this was just like one of the trades of the year. Like, it's kind of confusing. Like, kind of like you said, like Durbin was one of those guys that he's just like a scratch clog type of player, fit them so well. And he was actually the guy that they got in the Devin Williams trade.
Yep.
I believe. So they are definitely, like, let's be honest, like you said, they are 1000% going with the kind of thought process of, okay, we're going to get Kyle Harrison, only 24 years old, former top prospect, third round pick. He's going to take off. Would not be surprised if the Brewers do this. But I do feel like that this is one of those trades where we don't really think it matters until a year from now when Kyle Harrison is, up for a Cy Young, or Durbin is up for some Silver Slug or something. I think this is a trade that ends up benefiting both teams. I think it helps the Red Sox more right now. They needed some more infield help. I would assume it looks like he's going to be put at second base, allow Marcelo Meyer to play third. Obviously, you have just Trevor Story at shortstop. Contreras you brought in to play first. So a very different looking infield for the Red Sox. Obviously, you lose Bregman. Casas isn't going to be there. I think this was a good move for both sides. I think Boston definitely has probably the higher upside immediately. I think it's going to take some time with Kyle Harrison. But like you said, Ryan, if there's one team I'm not doubting to get his full potential out of him, it's the Milwaukee Brewers. This is what they do in their sleep.
And that's the part of it. They're the Rays where you feel, why would you get rid of a guy? And you can argue, is it getting him at his max value? I think that's too premature to say. But on the short term right now for Boston, they get a plug-and-play guy that's going to help them. In Milwaukee's case, I'm telling you with Kyle Harrison, I know it's been up and down for him, but Kyle Harrison is a pitcher with so much upside. And we talk about writing off pitchers and casting them away. This is a dude that's a lefty that can get it up to 97 or then some, who has high pedigree and has the ability to impact at the big league level. I know that the numbers in the last couple of years, they weren't spectacular, but they also weren't necessarily awful either. I think it's unlocking him. And I'm telling you, I have this feeling, and looking at it, Kyle Harrison is going to be a really good player for Milwaukee. And that's no knock to Drohan, I'm sorry, and David Hamilton. But I feel like with Kyle Harrison, and these are guys, when you look at upside, and you want to know what Milwaukee did way back in the day, guys, they traded for a guy that had been moving around. He went from Baltimore to Houston, then Houston to Milwaukee, ended up being one of the best relievers in the game, best closers in the game. You guys want to take a guess who that was?
Houston to Milwaukee?
It was Baltimore to Houston, Houston to Milwaukee.
Hader.
Josh Hader. They are not the same on that sense. They're different, but Milwaukee identifies talent, and they're going to take a risk. They got DL Hall, which DL's got to stay healthy out there, but Kyle Harrison, dude, watch him this year, because I really do believe he is going to be a key factor in this, even though you might think, what the hell are the Brew Crew doing? But one team makes a move in the AL East. It is not Baltimore. We'll see if Zach Gallen or Giolito or Verlander or Bassett or somebody makes some moves here. Don't hold your breath, though, okay? Because I'm done holding my breath for that. Because I'm down to one last breath.
Oh, boy.
Will they let me say? Let me say.
I will say I am kind of shocked that we're, like I've said before, that it's February 9th and the Orioles still have 3 first basemen on the roster.
I'm 6 feet from the edge and I'm thinking maybe 6 feet ain't so far down. Oh man, Creed. Ooh, I you know what? I've Creed's been back on like the swing. Shout out Cody Carroll, big Creed guy. I think that can bring a lot of people together. Yeah. That and female pop bring that back. Oh, we haven't even explained all of the interviews, which that's kind of it, right? We don't have a ton more. We can just tell you on what's coming out.
Yeah.
So we got probably 15 interviews we got to release from all of it. Now we do have one that's going to be released that has a Ravens connection.
15 more, by the way, because we've already released like 7, 8.
And we got more. We got more. You know, I see Johnny's comment. Yeah, the Orioles did get Blaze Alexander. You know what? I don't have the time, or I shouldn't say I have the time.
Electric in the air.
Yeah, that wasn't this wasn't going to be the time to talk about all of it because of, I mean, do you want to talk
what
about
exactly
the Blaze
is
trade?
there to talk about? I mean, I just really
this is the spark notes. Do we want spark notes
Yeah.
on this?
Let's get it.
Cade Stroud is a pretty good bullpen arm that I thought made some upside and made some strides this year. Was I a little bit shocked by the move when it happened? Yes, because when you look at what the Orioles need with bullpen arms, did it make a lot of sense? And from the outside, no, it doesn't make a lot of sense. When you look at a guy like Blaze Alexander, which is not any knock to him, he's a guy that can be versatile. And you know what? They don't have a versatile utility type of player in the infield. Jeremiah Jackson is the one de facto right now, but he's not a de facto to play third, second, short, or first. So right now, when you're looking at Blaze, that makes sense. And why does it make sense? He's comfortable in the utility role. So to me, it's a utility piece. All the conspiracy theories about, well, does that mean the Orioles are trading Jackson Holliday and Jordan Westberg? No. Hell no. Oh, Scooble, he won his case. They're going to trade for him. Do you know how bad that would be if you were a Tiger or a Tigers fan when you just signed Framber Valdez and they're going to go, wait, Ryan, Framber Valdez. The Tigers are trying to win this damn thing this year. And if they trade Scooble, it's going to cost a hell of a lot more than one of those players in the Orioles infield. And by the way, if you thought he got 32 in arbitration and Framber just got 38 mil a year, what the hell do you think Scooble's going to get? My guess, he's pushing 40, 45 million per year. So this thing for Blaze, he's their utility guy.
Basically a replacement guy for Mateo, right?
And Ramon Arias. It's just going, hey, when we need you to play, can you do it? And he go, yep, I can play any position. It's insurance, because I love Jeremiah Jackson. I do. I love his bat ability. I think that there's questions on if he can be every single position in the infield, which they do not have. Yeah. And that's what Mateo and Urias brought to the table. That's not in Jeremiah Jackson's repertoire. But is it a good pickup for the Orioles? Yes. Am I still a little surprised with it being Stroud? But a little bit. And there's still the thing for Cade is, can he have the encore? There's only such a small sample size. Blaze has been in the big leagues now the last 2 years. So you have an idea of what his role is. And then on top of it, if we're going to go to contractual status for him, it was a guy for the Orioles that in this case, I'm trying to look at, I just had his whole thing up there. They have him under team control. I'm not losing my mind, right? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. That's it. That's my spark notes. Utility guy. I hope the best for Cade Stroud. The Orioles are still going to fill out their bullpen. And scene. How's that? Is that okay?
Yeah. Woo, perfect.
Cool. Yeah, I could go down a rabbit hole of talking about baseball, but we have all season to do this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, if you guys really want me to get into the depths of all of this, but let's save that for a move that happens next. Let's save that when we know what the rosters are going to be going into spring training, and not just for the Orioles. I'll give you every insight that you want to know about the other teams in the AL East. Hell, we might interview some of the opponents, the adversaries moving forward. So That's all I got. Thank you guys for coming to my TED Talk. To finish up now, because we have a lot of interviews, there was a Baltimore connection again. And if you've seen some of the interviews, we had Marcus Peters, Hollywood Brown,
Brian
Billick. We had
Hit a heap.
Pitta Heap, which also, like, we could clip that up and put that out if we wanted to. It's in the live stream.
Yeah.
But if everyone's like, screw it, show us some Heap and Pitta. It's a hilarious interview. A lot of those. But there is one more Raven that we haven't showed you guys yet. Former Raven, I should say. And here's the deal, guys. You're going to see him twice a year. And he's going to be hard to miss when he's out on the field. Why? He's a large human being, but he started his career in Baltimore. And now he's a Cincinnati Bengal. Let's play the little teaser clip.
What, like 10 minutes from each other?
Yeah, barely, probably. Yeah, barely. Somewhere around that, man. Just Swan Road, Hunt Valley, Maryland.
Yeah, we could have possibly gone to the same elementary schools.
Yep.
And, I went the private school route.
Yeah.
But you live next to one of my best friends. Shout out Big Tone.
Shout out Big Tone. Orlando Brown Jr. joined it. And look, it was great talking with him. And if you're from Baltimore, and you're really from Baltimore, you might get that Hunt Valley reference.
Schwann Road.
You're out in the countryside. You might get that reference. But
that was crazy to hear him talk about Schwann Road.
And that's where Orlando Brown grew up. His dad, Raven.
Yep.
He lived in that neighborhood in Cockeysville area. And he's a genuine dude. And I know now he moved on from the Ravens, but he talked about moving from left to right tackle and more. He gave some insights to his upbringing, which him and I had similarities in. And guess what? Here's a little fun nugget for you. He played with Joe Flacco his rookie year. And guess who was his quarterback for some parts of this year? Joe Flacco on the bookends, essentially, of Orlando's start of his career as he's moved towards, it's going to be his 9th year in the league for Orlando Brown, which is crazy to think.
That is crazy.
Has gone on. So that's one of the many interviews we're going to have dropping here over the next few days. Did I miss anything?
Nope.
No.
One more time for the one time. Let's see. One handsome devil. Yaha! From this screen to that screen. Auto Stream Car Care Center. Damn, I look good. And if you are looking for some great acting, you'll see another video on Friday on Instagram and Facebook. But if you're looking for excellent car service, go to AutoStream Car Care Center, where you get $50 off for just mentioning the name Ryan Ripken. I swear it's good for something somewhere. It's at AutoStream Car Care Center. And when I move, you move, Zach.
Just like that.
And just like that, back to this stream. Am I missing anything else? Are we good?
Are we
good to take it to the crib? Dirty babe, you see the shackles, baby. I'm just
Ooh, that's a little mashup there.
Oh. As always, here on the Ryan Ripken Show, we appreciate each and every one of you. Have a day, have a night, and guess what? Come back and join us on Tuesday, because we'll be live from 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time right here on YouTube, X, and Facebook. See you guys.